Hey everybody, it's Amanda, and today we are making stuffed peppers. Okay, so I put pictures of our stuffed peppers on Instagram the other day. Make sure you're following us there if you're not, because I share what we're making for dinner there pretty much every night. So that's where you want to catch us. But anyways, I mentioned there that I sometimes I feel like I've shown you every recipe I have, and then I remembered when I was making stuffed peppers that I've never shown you that. So everybody said they've got to have that recipe, so here we are. Stuffed peppers. Super easy, as every recipe I make is, and very few ingredients. You could definitely do this on a budget. It's also great for leftovers. So I'm going to show you what ingredients you need, how quick it comes together, and you guys are going to be making these stuffed peppers, I know. So let's talk about what you need. Okay, I have all the ingredients here on the table, starting with, of course, 1 pound of ground meat. Now, you can do it as ground beef. If you actually want to make this vegan, someone mentioned they wanted a vegan or a vegetarian version, you could use like Beyond Beef. That'd be perfectly fine. So ground meat, I'm using ground beef. And you also want some mozzarella cheese. We're gonna use that for a topping. Again, for vegan or vegetarian, you could just leave this out, and you could also just choose to use a vegan cheese. Either one works perfectly fine. So that being said, I have mozzarella cheese, ground beef, one onion, 4 peppers. I need 1 tablespoon of garlic. We're gonna use this whole 15-ounce can of spaghetti sauce. In this is some leftover cooked brown rice. You can use any rice of your choosing. I made brown rice, that's what we're gonna use. And pre-cooking it is great because that is less cooking time for you, but just have pre-cooked 1 cup of rice and then a teaspoon of salt, and that's all you're gonna need. When I say it's easy, I mean, this is easy. By the way, this recipe is for 2 people. I'm gonna have 2, Rick's gonna have 2. But if you were making this for a crowd, you could certainly double it for 4 adult size servings, or even triple it for 6 adult size servings. And if you're making more than 6 adult size servings, Lord bless you. But this is what we're gonna make today for Rick and I, and double it. I'll make sure I have the complete recipe down in the description box for you to make it. So let's get started. Okay, so probably the longest part of the process of making this is cutting the vegetables, and it's really not that long. So obviously I'm just gonna slice up some onion because I'm gonna use that and cook that with the meat here in just a minute. So I just slice it up nice and small, and now I'm gonna get the peppers ready. So here's the deal with the peppers. What you want to do is you want to take your knife and cut around the top like I'm doing here, and it's kind of hard to get out, so you sometimes just have to press that top in. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second, just to kind of loosen it up, and then you're going to put all of those leftovers. So see here how I had to press it in, and then you're going to take all of the inside pieces out, and you want to flip it upside down and actually tap the bottom so that the seeds come out. So I know I'm doing this kind of fast, it's hard to tell, but again, just take the top off, empty the inside, and your peppers will be ready to be stuffed. We have 2 pots. The one in the back is full of water that we're going to bring to a boil to soften our peppers in. We are going to put our ground beef and onions in here to let the ground beef brown and the onions soften, and then we're going to put in our garlic and our tomato sauce and our rice at the end. And I'm going to right now go ahead and turn the oven on at 350 and get that preheated. So let's get all of that going, and we will be ready in no time. Okay, like I said, first thing we want to do is go ahead and preheat that oven at 350 degrees, and we're going to turn that water on and get it boiling. We want it to be at a rolling boil. So I put the onion in the pan, I put the ground meat in the pan, I go ahead and put that on a medium heat. It's really just going to take me a second to wash my hands, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to break up the ground meat and kind of mix it up with that onion and let that cook down. Very simple. A rolling boil, so we are going to put our peppers in here very carefully, and I try to get a little water in there so they'll sink down, because we do want them under the water. We want them to get fully submerged and soaked. So I highly recommend these tongs, you guys, if you don't have them. By the way, I have an Amazon store, and if you want to know what kind of kitchen things I recommend, I have a whole bunch of them there. I'll link that my affiliate link down in the description box below, and you can see all of the kitchen helpers that I recommend. So we're gonna let those cook for about, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, at least 5 minutes. You know, it really depends on if you prefer yours crunchy or if you prefer yours soft. We kind of like ours midway, so I usually try to give them about 5 to 7 minutes. And remember, I had it at a rolling boil already before I got it started, so we're gonna let it get going for a couple minutes, and then we're gonna let those cook to soften, and then I'm gonna actually place them in this Pampered Chef pan right here. And the meat here is just about ready. It just needs a couple more minutes, and we're gonna start adding our other ingredients. Okay, so I tried to time this just right. So I gave this a couple more minutes. It's starting to stick to the bottom, which means it's a little crispy, and that's perfect for this next step. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my tablespoon of garlic. Toss that on there. I'm also gonna add about a teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna eyeball it, but you might wanna measure it out if you haven't made this before. Then you're gonna add a cup of your brown rice, which you can see my brown rice right here. I have a 1/2 cup measuring spoon just because it's easier to manage. So I'm gonna do 1/2 cup and another 1/2 cup. So that's a whole cup of rice. I'm gonna use that same 1/2 cup measure, and we're gonna measure out a cup of this tomato sauce. So there's 1 cup, or 1/2 cup I should say, and there's the whole cup. We're gonna save the rest of that tomato sauce for a little bit later. So what we wanna do is now stir all of this together and get it warmed up. And usually if you do this right, this filling is done about the same time as the peppers, and you can do it all at once. It's actually a really quick process. We're gonna let that warm up for just a couple minutes, and then we're gonna get our peppers out and go ahead and stuff them. Okay, so this has cooked for a few minutes. It's got nice and warm. The peppers have been boiling for about 7 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and put them in our pan, and we're going to fill them. I usually just take my tongs, carefully dump that water out. And put it over here. Just a little heads up here, you can see that I broke that one. Don't let it get too soft or it will break into pieces. It'll be harder to stuff, but I'm gonna explain how I fix that in a minute. Our peppers are right there ready to be filled. I'm actually just gonna scoop them tablespoon by tablespoon inside to try to get them nice and evenly filled. And then we're gonna cover it with parchment and cover it with foil. So let me go ahead and start doing the filling. All right, the stuffing portion is totally easy. I'm basically just gonna take a spoon and scoop it in there. Nothing complicated. I try to kind of make it work depending on the size of the peppers. Sometimes some are smaller and sometimes larger, and you want them to have the appropriate amount. And that's why doing it a tablespoon at a time, it just kind of makes sense. You know, you can really gauge how full each one is. But it's not a complicated process. Like I said, you could really teach your older kids to do this with no problem at all. So the last thing we're gonna do is pour our spaghetti sauce over the top, or our tomato sauce, I should say. By the way, this last one over here, I tore open when I pulled it out of the pan. And so I just propped it up against the corner here so it will stay filled. But it happens sometimes, and you just make it work. So let me get the last of this sauce here. Okay, now we're gonna cover it with parchment and cover it with foil and cook it for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna uncover it and cook it for 15 minutes. All right, we're at the end here, going in the oven, taking it out of the oven as soon as the 10 minutes is up. We're just gonna take that top off, gonna put it back in the oven for another 15 minutes, and basically it's going to be ready. I'm gonna throw this mozzarella cheese on the top. I wish I had a better angle, but it's gonna melt on its own. You don't have to do anything with it. Top it with the cheese, you're done. Okay, everybody, so here we go. We have our stuffed peppers, and wasn't that really, really easy? You agree, right? This was super easy, super quick. Anybody could do this. You could teach your kids to do this. So that is our recipe, and I hope you will give it a try. I'm not gonna eat it right now because Rick is on his way home, and it's gonna sit here. By the way, these are freezable, and they reheat beautifully in the oven. So definitely something that you could try. Like I said, he's gonna be here probably in about 15-20 minutes, and I'm gonna wait for him, but I can just keep it on top of the stove in that Pampered Chef pan. It'll stay warm for about 15-20 minutes. If I needed to reheat it in about, I don't know, half hour or so, I can just put it back in the oven for a few minutes. It's not gonna hurt anything, and the cheese will be just fine. So here you go, give it a try. Yummy. Yes, yes, you love it. All right, stuffed peppers. Y'all have a good day. I'll see you next time. Bye.